"We're keeping the lake house," announced. "You don't contribute enough." Dad changed the locks. The next morning, their cards declined at breakfast. By noon, the bank called, "Your CO-SIGNER removed authorization." Within 24 hours, foreclosure started. I'd paid the $5,100 mortgage for 7 years. But let me start 7 years earlier. Because the day my parents locked me out of the lake house wasn't the beginning of this story. It started in 2017, when they made a financial decision they couldn't afford and I made a choice I never told them about. My name is Daniel Porter. I'm 35 years old. And I've spent the last 7 years secretly funding my parents' dream while they treated me like the son who never measured up. I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Middle-class family. Dad was an accountant. Mom was a nurse. My older brother Kyle was the star. Football scholarship to Michigan. MBA from Northwestern. Investment banking in Chicago. Married a lawyer. 2 kids. The golden child. I was different. Introverted. More interested in computers than sports. I went to University of Minnesota for computer science. Got a job as a software engineer at a healthcare tech company. Made $72,000 starting salary. Kyle made $280,000 at his investment bank. Every family gathering, the comparison was implicit. "Kyle's bonus this year was incredible," Dad would say. "6 figures. "That's impressive," I'd reply. "How's your job going, Daniel?" "Good. Working on some interesting projects." "Still at the same company?" "Yes. I like it there." "Well, stability is important too." Translation: You're not ambitious enough. Kyle bought a house in Evanston. $890,000. Mom posted photos on Facebook. "So proud of our son's success." I rented a 1-bedroom apartment in Minneapolis. $1,200 a month. No Facebook posts about that. In 2017, my parents decided to buy a lake house. They were both 58. Starting to think about retirement. They wanted a place on Lake Minnetonka. A retreat. A legacy property. They found it in May 2017. A 3-bedroom cabin on 2 acres. Private dock. Stunning views. Built in 1995, well-maintained but needing updates. Asking price, $685,000. "It's perfect," Mom said at a family dinner. "Our dream property. Can you afford it?" Kyle asked. "We're going to stretch," Dad admitted. "But we'll make it work. It's an investment in our future. In family memories." "What's the mortgage going to be?" I asked. "About $5,100 a month with property taxes and insurance." "High but manageable." I did the math in my head. Their combined income was around $140,000. A $5,100 monthly payment was over 40% of their gross income. That was tight. Probably too tight. "That's a lot," I said carefully. "We're aware," Dad said, defensive. "We've run the numbers. We can handle it." Kyle jumped in. "I think it's great. You've worked hard. You deserve this. If you need help with the down payment, I can contribute." "That's generous," Mom said. "But we have enough saved. We're putting down $140,000. The mortgage will be $545,000. They closed in June 2017. Moved furniture in. Started spending weekends there. At family dinners, it was all they talked about. "The sunsets are incredible. We saw an eagle yesterday. The dock is perfect for swimming." I was happy for them. They seemed genuinely joyful. But by September 2017, cracks were showing. Dad called me in October 2017. "Daniel, can we talk?" "Privately." "Sure. What's going on?" "The lake house. The mortgages. It's tighter than we expected." "How tight?" "We're struggling. Between the mortgage and our regular expenses, we're barely making it. We've had to dip into savings twice already." "Can you refinance?" "Not yet. We just closed. And honestly, the payment would still be too high even with a better rate." "What are you going to do?" "We're not sure. We don't want to sell. We just bought it. But we might not have a choice." "Have you talked to Kyle?" "He's dealing with a lot right now. Work is intense. The kids are expensive. We don't want to burden him." "But you'll burden me," I thought. "What do you need?" I asked. "I don't know. Maybe nothing. I just wanted to tell someone. Your mom doesn't know how stressed I am." We hung up. I thought about it for 3 days. Then I made a decision. I called the mortgage company. First National Bank. I'd like to make a payment on my parents' mortgage. Are you listed on the loan? No. But I'm their son. Can I make a payment? We can accept payments from anyone. But you won't have access to account information unless you're on the loan. I want to be added as a co-signer. Can I do that? That would require refinancing or a loan modification. You'd need to go through the application process. I thought about it. My credit was excellent. My income was stable. I had savings. Start the process. I want to be added as a co-signer. Took 6 weeks. Credit checks. Income verification. Legal documents. By December 2017, I was officially a co-signer on my parents' lake house mortgage. My name on the deed. My credit on the line. I called the bank. I want to set up automatic payments from my account. $5,100 monthly. You're paying the full mortgage? Yes. Starting January 2018. And your parents? They don't need to know. Can you still send them statements showing the payment is current? Yes. But Mr. Porter, this is unusual. Are you sure about this? I'm sure. I didn't tell my parents. I just started paying. Every month. $5,100 automatically withdrawn from my checking account. January 2018. February. March. All through 2018. My parents never mentioned the mortgage again. At family dinners they talked about how they'd figured out the budget and made some adjustments. They thought they were paying it themselves. Paying a $5,100 mortgage on a $72,000 salary was brutal. My take-home pay was about $4,400 monthly. The mortgage alone was $5,100. I was losing $700 every month. Draining my savings. I picked up freelance work. Nights and weekends. Building websites. Consulting on database projects. I made an extra $2,000 to $2,500 monthly. It was enough. Barely. I stopped going out. Stopped traveling. Lived on rice and beans. My apartment was $1,200. The mortgage was $5,100. Freelance income covered the gap and my other expenses. But there was nothing left over. At family gatherings at the lake house, now happening monthly, my parents would talk about how proud they were to have made it work. We're so glad we didn't sell, Mom would say. This place is everything to us. It's a testament to good financial planning, Dad would add. Kyle would nod. You guys are great with money. I should learn from you. I'd sit quietly, eating the food bought with money they thought they still had. In 2019 I got promoted. Senior software engineer. Salary increased to $105,000. Suddenly I could breathe. The mortgage payment was still huge but manageable. I kept paying. Every month. $5,100. My parents never knew. In 2020, COVID hit. I started working remote. Saved money on commuting and lunches. My freelance work increased. More companies needed tech help. By 2021, I was making $125,000 from my main job plus $30,000 to $35,000 in freelance income. Annual income, around $155,000. The mortgage payment was no longer painful. Just annoying. But I kept it secret. Because I'd started to realize something. My parents didn't just think they were paying the mortgage. They thought they deserved the house because they'd worked hard and sacrificed to afford it. Kyle thought they were financial geniuses. And I was still just Daniel. The quiet son. The one making good money, but not Kyle money. The one who was doing fine, but not exceptional. Meanwhile, I was funding their entire dream. Every summer, my parents spent June through August at the lake house. They'd semi-retired by 2021. Dad was doing part-time consulting. Mom was down to 3 shifts a week at the hospital. They'd invite the family up for weekends. Kyle would bring his wife and kids. I'd come alone. Daniel, why don't you bring someone? Mom would ask. Are you dating anyone? Not at the moment. You should make more effort. You're not getting any younger. Look at Kyle. Married, 2 kids, successful. I'd nod. Go back to my room. The smallest bedroom while Kyle's family got the master. One summer evening in 2022, we were having dinner on the deck. Watching the sunset. This place is an incredible investment, Kyle said. Property values on Lake Minnetonka have gone up like 30% since you bought. It's worth about $890,000 now, Dad said proudly. We've gained over $200,000 in equity. You haven't gained anything, I thought. I've paid $306,000 into this mortgage over 4.5 years. Every dollar of equity is mine. You must be so proud, Kyle's wife said. We are, Mom replied. We made a bold choice and it paid off. That's the difference between people who succeed and people who play it safe. She looked at me when she said it. Playing it safe has its merits, I said quietly. Does it? Dad asked. Sometimes you need to take risks. Build something bigger than yourself. I'd built this. I'd taken the risk. I'd funded their dream with $5,100 every month for 54 months straight. But they didn't know that. In August 2024, my parents called a family meeting. Kyle flew in from Chicago. I drove from Minneapolis. We met at the lake house on a Saturday afternoon. We have something to discuss, Dad said once we were all gathered on the deck. What's going on? Kyle asked. Your mother and I are making some changes. Estate planning. Legacy decisions. Hey, I said. We want to talk about the lake house. What happens to it when we're gone? Mom took over. This property is our pride and joy. We've worked so hard to keep it. To maintain it. We want it to stay in the family. That makes sense, Kyle said. We've decided to leave it to you, Kyle. The words hung in the air. Kyle looked surprised. Really? Wow. That's generous. You have a family, Mom explained. Kids who can enjoy it. You've been successful. You understand the value of property. What about Daniel? Kyle's wife asked, glancing at me. Daniel is welcome to visit, of course, Dad said. But Kyle will inherit the house. It makes the most sense. I was quiet. Processing. Daniel, you understand, right? Mom asked. You're not married. No kids. You don't need a lake house. I understand, I said slowly. Can I ask a question? Of course. How much is left on the mortgage? Dad pulled out his phone. Check something. About $387,000. We've been paying it down steadily. Should be paid off by the time we're 75. And you're leaving the house to Kyle. With the mortgage. No, Dad clarified. By the time we pass, hopefully not for many years, the mortgage will be mostly paid off. Kyle will inherit a valuable asset. What if something happens before then? What if you can't make the payments? We'll figure it out, Mom said. We always have. Have you? I asked. Something in my tone made everyone look at me. What does that mean? Dad asked. How much do you think you've paid into this mortgage over the last 7 years? I don't have the exact number, Dad said, defensive. But we've made every payment. On time. For 7 years. Have you? Mom's face tightened. Daniel, what are you implying? I'm asking if you know who's actually been paying the mortgage. We have, Dad said firmly. Check your bank statements. Your actual account. The one you think the mortgage payments come out of. Check how much you've paid. Dad pulled out his phone. Started scrolling. His face went pale. There are no mortgage payments showing. Because you haven't made any, I said quietly. I have. Every month. Since January 2018. $5,100. I've paid $428,400 into this mortgage over 7 years. The deck went silent. Kyle stared at me. You've been paying their mortgage? Yes. Why? Because in October 2017, Dad called me and said they couldn't afford it. They were going to lose the house. So I became a co-signer. Started making the payments. Mom's hand went to her mouth. That's not possible. It's very possible. I'm on the deed. I'm on the loan. I'm the co-signer. Check with the bank. Dad was scrolling frantically through his phone. The statements, they just show, payment received. I assumed it was our autopay. It was my autopay. From my account. For 7 years. Daniel. Mom started. You're welcome, by the way. For the $428,400. For the 7 years of payments. For saving your dream house. For funding your summers here while you told Kyle what good financial planners you are. We didn't know, Dad said. You didn't ask. Just like you didn't ask if I could afford it. Or if it was a burden. You just accepted that the payments were happening and took credit for it. Kyle was staring at our parents. You let him pay your mortgage for 7 years and never noticed. We thought we were paying it. Mom said, defensive. How? I asked. How did you think you were affording a $5,100 monthly payment on your income? Did you ever wonder why your bank balance wasn't dropping? Why you had money left over at the end of every month? Silence. You didn't wonder because you didn't want to look too closely. It was easier to believe you were succeeding than to examine the reality. Daniel will pay you back, Dad said quickly. With what? You have maybe $80,000 in savings. You owe $387,000 on the mortgage. You can't pay me back. We'll figure it out. No, you won't. Because I'm stopping the payments. Mom's face went white. You can't do that. I can. It's my autopay. I can cancel it any time. But we'll lose the house. Maybe you should have thought of that before announcing you're leaving it to Kyle. Kyle stood up. Wait. I don't want to be in the middle of this. If Daniel's been paying, then he should. Should what? Mom interrupted. Should get the house. He doesn't have a family. He doesn't need it. He's paid for it. Kyle said. He's paid over $400,000. We didn't ask him to do that. You couldn't afford it. I was standing now, voice raised. You called me in October 2017, panicking. You were going to lose this place. So I stepped in. I became a co-signer. I sacrificed for 7 years so you could have this. And now you're giving it to Kyle because I don't have a family? Dad reached for me. Daniel, please. Let's talk about this calmly. I've been calm for 7 years. While you told everyone how proud you were of this place. How you'd made it work. While you gave Kyle the master bedroom and me the smallest room. While you lectured me about taking risks and not playing it safe. I was funding your entire lifestyle and you had no idea. We'll make you co-owner, Dad offered. You and Kyle can share the house. I don't want to share. I want you to acknowledge that this house exists because of me. That every sunset you've watched, every summer you've spent here, every family gathering, all of it was funded by my $5,100 monthly payments. We acknowledge it. Mom said. We're grateful. Are you? Because 5 minutes ago you were leaving it entirely to Kyle. Kyle's wife stood. I think we should go. Let you guys work this out. No, I said. Stay. You should hear this. You should know that the financially savvy parents who gave you advice on real estate investing, they haven't made a single mortgage payment in 7 years. That's enough, Dad said firmly. It's not nearly enough. Do you know what I gave up to pay this mortgage? I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment for 7 years when I could have bought my own house. I worked freelance every night and weekend. I had no social life. No vacations. Nothing. Because I was paying for your dream. We didn't ask you to sacrifice, Mom said quietly. You didn't have to ask. You're my parents. You needed help. I gave it. But I expected, I don't know, maybe some recognition? Some awareness that you weren't doing this alone. We're sorry, Dad said. Truly. We should have noticed. Should have asked questions. Yes, you should have. What do you want? Kyle asked. Just tell us. What would make this right? I looked at the house. At the deck. At the lake beyond. At 7 years of my financial life poured into wood and stone. I want you to understand something. This house. It's not yours. It's mine. My name is on the deed. My credit is on the loan. My money has paid for it. Every single month. So what are you going to do? Mom asked, voice shaking. I'm going to stop paying the mortgage. Starting next month. You can either figure out how to pay it yourselves or the bank will foreclose. Your choice. Daniel, please. I'm done. I'm done being the son who doesn't matter. The one who's just doing fine. The one who doesn't need recognition because Kyle is so much more impressive. I walked inside. Grabbed my bag. Headed for my car. Kyle followed me. Daniel, wait. What? I had no idea. About any of this. If I'd known. You would have what? Offered to help. You make 3 times what I make. You could have easily contributed. But it never occurred to you to ask how they were affording it, did it? No, he admitted. It didn't. Because you assumed they were handling it. Just like they assumed. Everyone assumed. Except me. I knew the truth because I was living it. What are you going to do? I'm going to live my life. Without a $5,100 monthly drain on my finances. Without funding other people's dreams while mine sit on hold. The house will either be paid by them or foreclosed by the bank. Not my problem anymore. I got in my car and drove away. The next morning, Sunday, my parents drove to a diner in town for breakfast. Their debit card declined. They tried another card. Also declined. Dad called the bank from the parking lot. There must be a mistake. Our accounts show insufficient funds. The bank representative checked. Mr. Porter, your co-signer removed authorization for automatic deposits into your linked accounts. Your balance is what you personally have deposited. What? Who removed authorization? Daniel Porter. As of yesterday. He's within his rights as co-signer to modify account access. Dad hung up. Looked at Mom. Daniel changed the account settings. By noon the bank called my parents. This is First National regarding your mortgage at address. We haven't received September's payment. It was due September 1st. Today is September 15th. There must be a mistake, Dad said. We have automatic payments. Those payments were set up by your co-signer, Daniel Porter. He canceled the automatic payment authorization on September 14th. The payment is now your responsibility. How much is due? $5,100 for September. Plus a $75 late fee. Total, $5,175. Dad checked their bank balance. They had $8,200. If they paid the mortgage, they'd have $3,025 left. That had to cover food, utilities, gas, and everything else until their next paychecks in 2 weeks. Can we make a partial payment? Dad asked. You can, but the full amount is due by the 30th or the loan enters default status. Dad hung up. He and Mom sat in their car in the diner parking lot. Cards declined, mortgage due, finally understanding the reality. I'd been paying for 7 years. And now I wasn't. By Monday morning my parents were panicking. They called Kyle. We need to borrow money. Just for this month. $5,000. Kyle, to his credit, asked why. They explained. He was silent. You haven't been paying your own mortgage? We thought we were. The statements showed payments received. We didn't realize Daniel was making them. For 7 years? We didn't look closely at the accounts. We assumed. You assumed wrong. And now you're asking me to cover Daniel's payment. Just this once. Until we figure things out. Mom, Dad, Daniel has paid over $400,000. You're asking me to pay $5,000 one time and acting like I'm saving you. He's saved you for 7 years. Will you help us or not? Kyle thought about it. I'll loan you $5,000. At 5% interest. With a repayment plan. Because this needs to be a wake-up call, not a band-aid. Fine. Whatever. Just send the money. Kyle sent $5,000. They made the September mortgage payment. Then October came. They couldn't make the payment. They asked Kyle again. He said no. You need to solve this yourselves. Sell the house. Downsize. Figure it out. They asked friends. Family. Everyone said the same thing. Sell the house. By November 1st, they were 30 days late on the October payment. The bank sent a default notice. By December 1st, they were 60 days late on 2 payments. The bank started foreclosure proceedings. My mother called me, crying. Daniel, please. We're going to lose everything. You're going to lose a house you couldn't afford. It's our dream. It was my sacrifice. For 7 years. We'll sign over the house to you. Put it entirely in your name. Just start paying again. Why would I do that? So you can keep living there for free while I continue to drain my finances. We're your parents. And I'm your son. The one you were giving nothing to. Remember? The house was going to Kyle because I don't have a family. We were wrong. We see that now. You see it because you're losing the house. Not because you actually value me. That's not fair. None of this has been fair, Mom. Not for 7 years. She hung up. In January 2025, the bank foreclosed. My parents had to vacate by February 28th. They moved into a small 2-bedroom condo in Minneapolis. $1,800 a month. The lake house sold at foreclosure auction for $745,000. The bank recovered their $387,000. The remaining $358,000 should have gone to the homeowners, my parents and me. But because of the foreclosure, legal fees and penalties, the actual distribution was $312,000. As co-signer on the deed, I was entitled to my share. I'd paid $428,400 into the mortgage. My parents had paid $0. I consulted with an attorney. I want my investment back. With interest. We negotiated with my parents' attorney. Eventually we settled. I received $280,000 from the foreclosure proceeds. My parents received $32,000. They were furious. You're taking our equity. I'm taking my equity. The equity I built with my payments. We'll never forgive you for this. I can live with that. It's now August 2025. 1 year after the confrontation at the lake house. I used the $280,000 as a down payment on my own house. A beautiful 4-bedroom in a Minneapolis suburb. $520,000 purchase price. My mortgage is $2,400 per month. Easily affordable on my current salary of $145,000. I have a guest room. An office. A yard. Everything I delayed for 7 years while paying my parents' mortgage. My parents are in their rental condo. Bitter. Broke. They blame me for ruining their retirement. Kyle and I talk occasionally. He's apologized multiple times. I should have questioned how they afforded it. Should have offered to help. Yes, you should have. For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Stopping the payments. Making them face reality. Thank you. Are you going to reconcile with them? Maybe. When they acknowledge what I did for them. Really acknowledge it. Not just because they're angry about losing the house. That hasn't happened yet. Maybe it never will. Last week my father sent me an email. Daniel, I've been thinking about everything that happened. About the lake house. About the 7 years. I need to say something. You were right. We took advantage of you. We didn't mean to, but we did. We accepted your help without acknowledging it. We made assumptions about your life. That you didn't need recognition, didn't need the house, didn't need to be valued the same as your brother. We were wrong. About all of it. You sacrificed for 7 years to give us something we couldn't afford. And instead of gratitude, we showed you dismissal. I don't know if you'll forgive us. But I want you to know I see it now. I see what you did. What you gave up. What we took for granted. You're a better man than I gave you credit for. And I'm sorry it took losing everything for me to see that. If you're willing, I'd like to try to rebuild our relationship. Not the old relationship where Kyle was the star and you were the afterthought. A new one. Where we see you for who you actually are. I read the email 3 times. It's the first time he's ever really apologized. Really acknowledged what happened. I don't know if I'll respond. Don't know if I can trust that this is real and not just another manipulation. But it's something. Maybe it's enough to start. Or maybe it's just too late. For 7 years I paid their mortgage in silence. I watched them take credit for my sacrifice. I funded their dream while putting mine on hold. And when they finally had to face the truth, when their cards declined at breakfast, when the bank called about the missed payment, when foreclosure started within 24 hours of me stopping payments, they learned what I'd known all along. The lake house was never theirs. It was mine. Every sunset. Every summer. Every family gathering. Paid for by $5,100 monthly payments from my account. For 7 years. Now I have my own house. My own equity. My own dream. Built not on assumptions or credit I didn't earn. But on the $280,000 I recovered from a property I actually paid for. The calls started that next morning after I changed the locks on the account. The declined cards. The bank notices. The panic. Within 24 hours, foreclosure proceedings began. And my parents learned the most expensive lesson of their lives. When you take someone's sacrifice for granted, eventually they stop sacrificing. And then you pay the price. All of it.